All right, is Craig started?
Yes, Craig is ready whenever we're ready.
Okay, cool. All right, welcome to December 16th office hours. Here to talk about just general stuff, I guess. I don't have too much to talk about, mostly just general updates on how things are progressing. I mean, December is always kind of slow. Next week, I expect there could be a huge slowdown everywhere. But yeah, this week has been pretty good. Manifest is launching their streetwear collab thing tomorrow, which is pretty cool to see. Very interesting. It's like a metaverse clothing, but you also get like a real piece of clothing, and then they're using VCTs to offset their emissions. We helped like basically examine what that looks like in terms of a footprint. Very, very cool, guys. Check it out if you have time. Yeah, I mean, so we're working on right now with Chainlink to get an Oracle up and running for Wrapstake, KLIMA, and Geom. It's a bit of a process because it's a whole like host of engineering problems come with it, but hoping to get that out maybe next week, although I don't really want to release on Christmas week just because I know it's going to be not a good time. So we might push it back to January, just when people are more at their computer and ready to participate in the market. We'll kind of talk to Olympus and see what they want to do. I mean, if they have a strong opinion on that, then we'll go with what they want to do. So yeah, Brian can probably come up and talk about that kind of stuff later in a policy chat. But otherwise, yeah, everything's good. KIP's done. So the last bit of the APY reduction is done. So we'll be sitting at the 22,000% APY mark for the foreseeable future until we have to do another reduction. I think we're going to crack 1 million KLIMA like by the end of this month if I'm looking at the Dune dashboard, which is pretty crazy. Our current index is 2.73. Yeah, there's lots. Yeah, 5.2 million risk-free value. Treasury carbon of 13 million. I mean, it's crazy how the whole dashboard is up only. It's really, really fascinating how that continues to play out and grow. It's anyways, there's lots coming in January, and that's kind of like what I keep telling people. Like, there's going to be, that's always when there's people that start releasing stuff, and there's going to be new updates here and there. Every department is really busy. Like, there's marketing's doing a lot of stuff, partnerships is doing a lot of stuff, policy's doing a lot of stuff, creative's doing a lot of stuff. Like, literally, it's just busy everywhere. So it's really cool to see kind of all these people working on different things. People might know that in the contributor server, I always pop into meetings randomly just to hear what's happening. I'm more curious than anything. So it's very encouraging. I know there's been a lot of hard work there, and I think that's opening soon, right, Chaz?
Yeah, any day now. I should talk to Ops and see what the holdup is.
Cool. Yeah, well, there you go. And then you have a lot more people probably looking to be part of that, which is really cool. ICROA, I don't know if Dionysus want to talk about this because you sent this to me, but it's the International Carbon Reduction and Offset Alliance. But they had a presentation, you can probably link it, where they talk about us. But you watched it, so what did they say exactly?
Yeah, I mean this is quite fascinating. I mean, one, KlimaDAO has attracted a lot of contributors that are from the carbon market, which has been really awesome, I think, right? To see that there's so many people in the market that also know about DeFi and are really interested in the potential of what's happening here. And ICROA, so this is the International Carbon Reduction and Offsetting Alliance, and essentially an industry body that sets out best practices and standards for the voluntary carbon market. And you have like most of the major players there. I mean, the largest carbon offsetting companies and the project developers, they have members that are a part of ICROA. And in the last general meeting, it was actually brought up. It wasn't too much or too long of a dialogue about what's happening, but it was very clear that they saw this what's happening. They call it the cryptocurrency space. The crypto space is really fascinating to them, and they do see that digitalization is going to be something quite important. But at the same time, it's clear that they really don't understand DeFi or the particulars of what's happening here. But they recognize that, I think in the meeting when that was actually occurring, it was something like 14 million tons had been bridged across. So this is a substantial amount. it's raised the attention of ICROA, which I think is just a huge milestone for the DAO and for the broader DeFi and climate finance community. So super exciting to see that, and we'll certainly be monitoring that.
Definitely, and I think in that I posted the link to the transcript that you sent, and at time 46-47, there's a slide that says policy advocacy working group. And the last line is what's really interesting. It says concerns with advance of cryptocarbon development on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side it says opportunity for workshop and hackathon with standards and representatives from example Toucan Protocol / KlimaDAO, implying that they want to work with us on doing some sort of workshop, which is, I think, is crazy considering that this is, like you said, like one of the biggest organizations out there. Like this is the rubber stamp of these guys are accepted into the big boys club.
Yay.
Yeah, I mean, at some point,
cool.
let's see if we have a rep there, right? Or if someone like Joseph Ballant, who's a big advocate and supporter in this space, if he is someone that will eventually join that, because I mean, obviously we're part of the trend, but there is this movement, I think, to leveraging digitalization and, more so the DeFi space and the tools that are being built here to empower the carbon market. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see this play out. And I think KLIMA really, truly is at the center of it.
Definitely. Cool. I mean, today I think we can probably take quite a few questions. It's like only 10 after, so we got 20 minutes.
Before we start our first questions, I want to mention some of the people are trying to get together a poker tournament. I think they were doing a tournament, or it's just going to be open tables tomorrow night. We'll be publishing more information about that, but it'll be hosted in the Discord here.
Oh, cool. I'm not going to play because I suck, but I will watch.
Yeah, I'll probably play. I don't know if I'll try and stick it through, but might just do some ballsy bets because people like to see it. And it's just so everybody knows, it's virtual money, so it's like no entry fee or anything. All for fun.
Oh, okay, cool. Like, if we're betting KLIMAs, man, I don't know if I can do that.
Cool. I guess we can open the floor to questions.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my question. Sorry, I just missed that note. You mentioned there was a company that reached out to you guys that would be kind of like the rubber stamp of approval. What was that company's name again?
It's ICROA. So if you check out Office Q&A, people are like posting about it. It's like a committee. I don't know how to describe them. Dionysus, what do you?
It's like a trade
ICROA?
industry body or something.
Yeah.
They really, so they're a group that sets a lot of the standards and best practices for the voluntary carbon market.
Okay, I appreciate that, guys. Thanks again.
Thanks for your question.
Sure.
Hi guys, just wanted to know if you have an update on the World Bank meeting. Thank you.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. That's true. Did meet them last Thursday. Thanks for reminding me. So they are very interested in what we do. They really like it. I spent about an hour explaining to them how the whole system works. So you could really tell they were trying to grok what we do here. It's obviously very new to them. The whole thing was very informative. Like they really like what we do, and they're huge supporters of it. The one guy was like, "Oh, by next time we'd have another meeting, I'll probably try and stake KLIMA by then." I was like, "Okay, cool. That's a very interesting take on it." But yeah, I mean, for them, like it was largely a learning thing. Like, and they asked, and we started memeing it to death on Twitter, and they were like, "Can you guys like tone it down?" And we're like, "No," because memes are funny. They're very, very. If you want to talk about rubber stamps of approval, they're very up there, right? And so they're kind of in the same place. So this particular division was the Climate Warehouse division, which is a specific body dedicated to carbon markets and like how they operate. And so they were asking like, so how do we work together? What do we want to do? And my ask to them was like, okay, like our biggest thing that we want is ITMOs. We want compliance level tons. So you need to convince some nation state somewhere to issue the first ITMO so that we can then take it. And then I was talking about, okay, well, and then Bitmo obviously would be the platform that does it. Because we talked to, Joseph was here a few weeks ago, and, his platform that they built is specifically designed for this. So once we have one, we want to take it in. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll work on that. We'll talk to you guys in the new year. So, okay, cool. So, I mean, of that hour conversation, 45 minutes of it was just like understanding KlimaDAO and like how the whole mechanics work. They're like, how is it possible to have a 20,000 APY for carbon assets and all this, just general questions that like, they obviously were very well read. This was my other like very astute observation was they didn't come to that meeting like, what's KlimaDAO? No, they came to that meeting like they read and tried to understand on their own like as much as possible. And they were like, okay, now we can ask some questions because like it's not totally clear to me. And DeFi obviously is like a brand new thing for those guys at the Climate Warehouse. But yeah, it went really, really well. I mean, we'll talk to them more in the new year. I think what everyone is waiting on is like a state level issuance of ITMOs. And once we have that, I think that's where we will go from there. And they said that they'll help us with it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it went really well. This is the answer to your question.
Great. Well, thank you, guys.
So we can give that another question up here.
So someone posted a good one in the Q&A. Is there any feedback that we have on how KLIMA can be more easily onboarded, ramped up for institutions?
Can you guys hear me?
Is someone talking and I just can't hear?
Let's try that again. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Cool. Did someone already start answering the question or no?
I don't think so. I think we're having audio issues.
Yeah, I got cut out there. I couldn't hear anyone. Sorry.
Okay, cool. Could you just repeat the end of the question? I believe it was about like reaching out to different companies that may want to actually custody KLIMA. Was that what you were asking?
Yeah, so there was someone asked in chat, just is there any feedback on how KLIMA can be more easily onboarded or ramped up for institutions?
Cool. Yeah, I mean, part of this is like the classic DeFi problem, in that you need to make it easier, like from the interface perspective, and just understandable for classic companies and maybe outside of the space to actually purchase offsets and hold them. So that's one issue, but we are doing some really cool things between the partnerships and marketing and engineering teams to create dashboards where people can, let's say, see their like environmental impact, for instance, from holding KLIMA and seeing how that impact grows over time. So we are going to release something about that in early January, that program and some initial partners that will be joining it as well. It's definitely something that's going to be really important to keep scaling the protocol, is to bring in these types of organizations that want to have an environmental impact and see KLIMA as a solution. And I think KLIMA is a really unique asset in this respect because I like to think of it as sort of this macro sustainability asset, in that the treasury is going to contain a variety of different sustainability-oriented instruments. So we have the carbon offsets right now and the base carbon ton. There's going to be additional pools in the future that focus on specific types of offsetting projects. Likely the nature-based projects, et cetera. In the future, it could be something with technical removals, carbon capture and storage, et cetera. And there's even opportunities to look at things like tokenized renewable energy infrastructure. So KLIMA grants exposure to those that hold it to all of those different types of projects. And at the same time, that by purchasing and holding KLIMA, you're helping contribute to deliver finance to this world of sustainability that keeps growing. So it's really unique in that respect. Does that help answer your question?
I think that was fine. I think someone brought Jay Suker, the cooker.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
All right. Yes,
we can hear you.
Hey, so circling back to the Bitmos and the meeting with the with the World Bank, I was thinking, seeing as you have a huge community here, what are some ways other than that meeting per se to kind of get the state actors to issue those credits onto the protocol? What are some of the other strategies in getting a nation state to put the mandated credits onto KLIMA, if any? And how can the 60,000 climates help in doing that as well?
Really good question. I mean, this is a tough one because like the ITMOs and the way that they're issued and like the whole Paris 6, like, I mean, Joseph can talk about this way better than I can. He's the expert on it. But basically, like, this comes down to one thing. It comes down to a country basically deciding that they're going to trade their allowance, their offsetting allowance, and there has to be like some sort of financial incentive for them to do so. We can't. I mean, we can. Like, it's like a not a chicken and egg problem, but like it's a like the first person to do it. Once they see that KlimaDAO is going to start buying them, if it's like financially like there's an incentive to do so, they will continue to do so. So I don't know how we can help, because we need somebody else to do the first step, and then once that's done, then it's it's very easy for us to get in there. But it's I don't know. I mean, the first protests. No, that's not going to get us anywhere. It's just like regular protests. They don't do anything. So the COP26 ended in November this year. I expect maybe the first one in January, like, to be issued. I don't know, Dionysus, like, what do you think? Do you think it's gonna actually? What do you think this is actually gonna happen?
That's a good question. I mean, when it comes with the IMO thing, I think the best ally there is this BitNo platform to start getting things moving. As long as, like, for the interface, I should say, between sort of this legacy carbon market, powered by Article 6, and the DeFi space. In terms of countries moving forward, I mean, things were finalized. I think everyone in the carbon market is very excited by what transpired at COP26. So we'll have to see. There's already some countries that have kind of brokered deals to trade carbon from projects. I believe Switzerland, for instance, invested in a forestry project in another country, and they're going to be doing a trade there. So I would expect 2022, at least, for this to move forward.
Morning, guys. Yeah, I mean, a couple questions just following up on IDMOs. Like, they aren't even traded and may not be for multiple years. And then there's this follow-up question: would courting smaller countries, ones with struggling economies, it feels like an easier. It is like that is kind of like what it is. They're not traded, but like you just have to incentivize somebody to trade them. And yeah, smaller countries with developing economies might be open to it simply because like meeting their own carbon, like the sweet spot is like someone who basically has like a huge natural carbon sink in their country that they use in their nationally determined allowances, and they basically want to trade that. That's like the one. If you find like just one organization who does that, I think that, you know, you're in good shape. Or one country that is able to do that. It's a tough one. It's a tough ask. It's not going to be something that happens very quickly.
Hey guys,
Thanks a lot. Yeah, and totally agree, because seeing that we are such a strong community, maybe once we put our focus on who the biggest or best target would be, whether it's a smaller nation state or leveraging what types of separated degrees of connections we might have, because you never know who is part of the climate community and might be able to open some of those doors. So maybe there could be some sort of white paper on how we could get a nation state to connect with us or be part of the movement. Anyways, I'm done. So thanks for those answers.
This is a long-term question more so. Other than carbon credits and climate control, is KlimaDAO looking to get into any other projects that have to do with the environment, or are we looking to onboard other projects? Can you talk about more about the long-term road of other projects or other companies that are going to be onboarded? Thank you.
I think I spoke a little bit about this in the previous question, but I mean, there's a lot of really, really exciting things that are happening in the DeFi space related to, for instance, like tokenizing and fractionalizing ownership of could be infrastructure, properties, etc., things like this. And we are in contact with partners that are really pushing forward these types of designs with other sustainability assets like renewable energy infrastructure and also the carbon projects themselves. So, I mean, ultimately, you know, KLIMA, I think, will have a treasury that's kind of full of various assets, like with a focus on carbon in the beginning, simply because we already have the infrastructure there to onboard these assets into the DeFi space. But I mean, the great thing is that we're just gonna be able to leverage all of these different tools and interfaces that are being built in the DeFi space as it becomes more mature. And to give you like another example, actually, I know of a group that is creating a synthetic asset that mirrors their ESG ETF. So this ETF contains different companies that are being traded on the US stock market that have very strong environmental and social governance criteria. And basically, I mean, this index has performed quite well. I mean, there's a lot of research on this that companies that generally have strong ESG scores do perform quite well. You know, they are positioning themselves well for a changing market where environmental concerns are going to be more important, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, imagine then once this becomes more matured and, you know, this is actually issued potentially on Polygon, that then you could actually have exposure in the treasury to companies that are pursuing their own, say, green agendas, right? And that's something super powerful. So that's going to be cool to see how DeFi matures in this respect moving forward. But I hope that gives you bigger oversight of like the picture of where we could be at in a year or 2 years' time.
Great, thank you. So it's more about just joining other or allowing other companies to onboard their assets onto KLIMA?
Well, the DAO, of course, can vote on which assets we bring into the treasury. So, you know, in that respect, if you think of like the carbon bridges, right? I mean, those are third parties. And of course, KLIMA has some influence there because we're the biggest use case right now of this tokenized carbon. But again, like, you know, in the future, you could have other assets that are brought on chain that are tied to some sort of sustainability criteria, whether it be this synthetic asset representing an ETF of companies with strong ESG metrics, or tokenized renewable energy infrastructure, et cetera.
Great. Are there any other like projects, for example, like teams out there that are willing to like clean up the ocean or something like that, or like landmines or landfills or something that are looking to ask you guys questions or partner with you? Any other projects?
There have been groups that have reached out. I think one important criteria, though, of course, is that the asset should be productive in some way and that they are going to offer returns to the treasury. So, and that may sound like it's limiting at first, but I think there's a huge transformation underway. I mean, certainly led by the carbon market, but where these types of green investments are actually like great financial ones as well. I think maybe 5-10 years ago, there was like a trade-off seen between doing something good for the environment and realizing good financial returns. That's not necessarily there anymore, this trade-off. I think you can do good in the environment and realize something productive. So when you mention things like cleanup or landfills, things like this, I mean, there's infrastructure, for instance, from landfills to capture methane and then use that for power generation. In some cases, these types of projects also issue carbon credits, right? There could be cases in the future where such infrastructure then is producing renewable energy, which is sold, and you could have ownership of them. So yeah, there's certainly some possibilities there to expand that for more environmental impact.
I think it's also useful to keep in mind that like anything in DeFi that interacts with the real world has to have some sort of authority on the ground or physical presence that helps verify like the physical information. Like for example, like we use Vera and lean on Vera's registry right now for BCTs, and they're able to, obviously handle all of the verification of the carbon. So carbon markets were in a unique position to be connected to DeFi in this way because there already was a forming carbon market. So that's something to keep in mind with future partnerships and potential assets we might bring on board.
So the focus is really carbon credits because there's already infrastructure in there and the asset price of carbon credits itself is going up, correct?
Yeah, I in other terms, you might say that like the carbon markets were some of the most mature areas of regenerative finance. And so that's just obviously the easiest vector you can attack.
I think Joseph Palant in the Planet of the Climates, in the recent episode they did with him, he kind of gives his old school like approach to this of when people ask him about other novel sustainability projects. And some of those might be good and have good intentions, but he always points back to something like a Vera or the methodologies to have like something to stand on and to quantify. And it's not to say that other things aren't good, but like, yeah, I think he provides some context in that podcast episode on the importance of methodologies and the registries. Well, more so methodology, but yeah, give that a listen if you haven't already, because I think he has some perspective that I found helpful for this.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the question.
Hey guys, thanks for everything you're doing. Quick one for you. Is there anything the community could do or help out in any way in trying to get KLIMA's price feed or market cap feed to show up on TradingView by any chance? What are the requirements for that?
I think it's basically
A lot of memes.
we need to get sushi on Polygon added, and from what I know from
Yeah, I
previous
mean,
projects,
I did actually. I
it's a
put in a
question.
ticket
because I got a premium account or whatever, so they respond to tickets quicker. And it did sound like basically it's kind of a demand-based thing where, the more people that request it, the more likely it is to actually get prioritized and added. So I'm thinking if maybe we could throw it in Discord, like, hey, if you got a TradingView account, go ahead and send in the support ticket and request that they add it. That way, you get more attention from traders and professionals who are kind of chartists and don't really feel comfortable putting their money into something that they can't really chart, I guess, the way they would with other things.
That's a good point.
You're
we
right.
should BCT as well,
that is the
right? I
worst.
imagine that's probably not on there.
Pretty much anything on anything on Matic, like Sushi. They do have SushiSwap tickers, but they don't have, I think, the Polygon tickers, via Sushi.
Okay. Huh.
On that same front, maybe we should reach out to other Polygon projects and maybe band together and push for more support that way too.
Yeah, like if you look at Home, they've got it because obviously that's ERC20, and even Avalanche, they've managed to get all the Trader Joe tickers on there already, which is pretty impressive considering it's a fairly newer on the scene. So you would think that Polygon would eventually make their way on there, but it seems like they're behind the wall there.
I will say sometimes other chains will pay for integrations, so I wouldn't be surprised if they pay TradingView to support Avalanche. But I don't know anything about that though.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, maybe couldn't hurt to throw it in Discord. Maybe have as many people as possible bug TradingView.
Yeah, definitely something we could organize and see how much. I'm sure there's interest among our community and some other Polygon communities too that we could rally together.
Yeah, every time I post in the trading section of the Discord, that people are always like, how do we get a TradingView chart? There are workarounds, like little hacky different, CoinTrader Pro and different sites that are similar, but you don't get the full features that you would get on TradingView.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll make a note and follow up with the contributor server to make sure we actually go around and ask communities for this. Thanks.
Hey guys, can you hear me, guys?
Yep, I can hear you.
Excellent. No, thank you all for these office hours. These are really cool. Been listening to them since I sort of found out about KLIMA about a few weeks ago, and also thanks a lot for the very quick reaction on these HFCs, which will be becoming a bit of an issue at some point. I have a different question though. Have any of the sort of traditional climate tech companies been in touch with you to effectively bring their own demand? So there are a bunch of them in Europe because obviously the market, so the climate market is very large here, like Plan A, Ecology, etc. A lot of them in the UK, sort of consumer-facing, business-facing. They do all of these dashboards, etc. Typically go to the carbon markets to source effectively the credits and then burn them for their users. Have any of them actually been in touch to sort of partner up somehow? Thanks.
I would say no, as far as I know. Generally speaking, companies like Plan A are facing customers with companies, right? So they help companies to do assessments of their footprint. And yeah, I mean, offsetting is different to, obviously KLIMA is a carbon-backed currency. We're using carbon as a collateral. However, it is an interesting avenue because they are customer facing, right? Like they are facing these companies that are interested in their footprints and in compensating for that. So I certainly don't lead partnerships. So maybe we are talking to people like that, but if not, then it's definitely a very good idea.
Can you guys hear me better now?
Yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. My question was basically whether any of the traditional climate techs, especially the ones over here in Europe, have been in touch with you to bring some of their demand onto KLIMA in a way effectively to partner up. Because as you know, they do a lot of consumer-facing apps, business dashboards for corporates. They do all of this in an automated way, sort of they create a lot of demand for voluntary carbon. And it would make a lot of sense basically for them to use KLIMA as well. So my question was whether any one of them, like Ecology Planet, Glacier, etc., there's a bunch of them, have been in touch or not yet. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I know the CEO of Plan A actually, so let's make sure partnerships are talking to these people. They're definitely a sales channel. Thank you for bringing that up, Sirab, if you can hear me.
All right, we've been going for a little over 30 minutes. Do we want to like maybe go one or two more questions? Or do we have time for one or two more questions?
Yeah.
Cool. Walnut, you are
Hello,
on.
hello.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome, thanks. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate these office hours. I think it's a great way for people to learn. I'm personally quite new to the KLIMA community. I've known of KLIMA for a little while. I've been trying to research more about sort of decentralized finance, especially in the field of sustainability and the potential for it. And I've also encountered projects such as DiatomDAO. And one of the things that I want to ask you guys is what kind of insights of challenges do you have about the sort of governance system that you employed really early on in the project versus now? And the reason I have this question is because I feel like it's very admirable how much you guys get involved with the community. But I'm also curious, how did you transition into sort of this system? Is this something that you already had defined very early on, or did you take a lot more sort of decisions within the team before, and then did you slowly open up to community contributions later? How did you build up this sort of more collective decision making in the DAO?
I'd say a lot of it just kind of happens naturally. Like you start out with having a certain number of supporters, and then you kind of recognize who's contributing, and then that naturally leads into, as long as you just keep supporting them and encouraging them, it kind of just keeps forming into more structure. Luckily, we as a community had a lot of homies who had experience working in like the Olympus contributor servers, so a lot of that translated over to our transition. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway is just like reward contributors. I mean, make sure people who are giving effort and helping grow your community are the ones who are being rewarded the most. Did that answer your question?
Yeah,
I mean, also.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to add, like, we've kind of been doing office hours since the beginning. I think this is one of Zeus's actually earliest suggestions. When we spoke to him way back in March, where he's like, "Yeah, I don't know anything about carbon markets. You guys should do like an office hours kind of thing where you talk about all this stuff." And that's how it all started. We just spent like 2 months talking about everything that we're doing, how it works, and like spent a lot of time educating. While we were still on testnet. This was like way before we even had anything running or actually created. So yeah, I mean, it's always kind of been a thing that we do here.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome because I think you guys kind of became this sort of golden standard. Whoops. Well, sorry, I muted myself. You guys became kind of like this golden standard of how to run a DAO, I think, a sustainably driven DAO. And I kind of wondering, do you guys see yourself as sort of potentially collaborating or sort of mentoring more DAOs in the future to kind of reach this sort of level that you guys have?
Thank you, by the way. That's awesome to hear. I don't know. Personally, I've always just been open to giving people advice when they ask for it. So, I mean, I think personally I'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I think especially too, you know, like Archimedes can talk more to it, but we benefited a lot from working with Olympus and really asking them early on what went well. Like when they were building their community, what were things that they wish they could redo, and they've helped us tremendously in terms of like community that are members of both DAOs, but also yeah, just some of the insights that they've given us, and support, and I think that advice. So yes, I think KlimaDAO would be open to something like that. We're still pretty young and like not to be greedy, but focusing on ourselves. But certainly, like to stay competitive, you have to be collaborative as well, and also keep a lookout for people that have novel ideas that need yeah, some looking after or help. So I'd say it's always available.
Yeah, phrase I'd tack on there is maybe we're still at the stage where we're trying to lead by example.
Yeah, when you say we had it all figured out, I was like, well, that's high praise. That's good. That means that we're on the right track. But
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
only we're still so young that I don't want to say it's going to fail at all. But I'm just like, that is very nice to say, and I appreciate it. So yeah, but we're still, you know, still just getting organized. Still early days.
yeah, fair enough. I guess not all figured out, but I was just so impressed. I just kind of was wondering how you guys did it. But I guess that answers it. You established a lot of community mechanisms very early on. So I guess it makes it not so hard to transition into a bigger community. Because if you have office hours already with a few people, then you can do office hours with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't understate how passionate our community is too. Awesome. Like Marcus and all of the climate activists and all the contributor server. It's awesome.
Cool, that's amazing, guys. Thanks for the words and the advice. I guess that's it from me.
Thanks.
Yeah, just to hear from someone else, I also really enjoyed the office hours. I think it was really amazing that you guys did that, and yeah, it definitely shows you guys know what you're doing here. I'd also like to second the part where someone brought up the KLIMA price on TradingView. Been waiting that for months. Would love to see that. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a good point. I didn't even realize that. I don't have a TradingView Luxury Pro account, but I do see a lot of screenshots from it, and I know people rely on it. So that is a good point for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I took a note down to make sure, like on the contributor server side of things, we make sure the DAO kind of organizes with some other Polygon projects and see if we can push for support with TradingView.
Yeah, you know, I think one tweet from you though might be able to push it, but we'll do it the legit way. We'll find out what they need.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, I think that if that answers your question, I think that about wraps it up for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Join us. I don't know what we doing next week.
I haven't put one on the calendar yet because I wasn't certain, but stay tuned in announcements and on Twitter, and I'll put a Discord event up in the upper left-hand corner and schedule it if we are.
Yeah, maybe not next Thursday, but the one after. Because next Thursday is the 23rd, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It might end up just being pushed off till the 30th.
Okay, let's do the 30th. 30th I can do. So next week we'll skip.
Maybe Dan will still be online then. On the 23rd in their own
Poor guy.
Listening, waiting, hoping for good news. Yeah. I'll
maybe
be available.
Des will do something.
Yeah, maybe Des will do something. Anyway, we appreciate you all 211 climates here today. So yeah, we'll be in touch. Thanks for coming to the office hours.
Yep. See you guys. Cheers.